Hello and welcome back to the Good Talkers podcast. Hi everybody, I am Tessa Livingston and as always I am joined by the delightful Deanna Cooney.
Hi!
The excellent Ashton Halgan.
Hello!
And our favourite producer of all time, producer Jordan.
Hello.
I love announcing your name that way. I get real joy out of it.
It's so funny. So good.
Oh, now, everybody, I'd just like to tattle on Deanna. Deanna's late today.
Oh, so late.
So late.
So late.
She's so late to our meeting, which actually she wasn't originally late because I booked it wrong and then daylight savings happened and so we were all just in at the wrong time. But Deanna, can you tell us why you were late today?
Yeah, well, it's a bit convoluted. So I had an appointment with my chiropractor this morning and he was running about 40 minutes late. So that's never a good thing. But usually that means I've still got time to get home. Like I make a really early appointment so that even if he is running late, because he's running late a lot, I still have time to do all my stuff. And we were on track. We were going to be home and I was going to have time. It was going to be great. And I was going to be here at the time that I was supposed to be. And then our car almost ran out of petrol. But kind of in a surprising way. It has like a electronic little thing in the dash that tells us how many kilometres worth of fuel we have left in the car. So the gauge sits on empty, right? But, well, it looks like it's sitting on empty. But there's actually like maybe 80 Ks worth of fuel left in it or something. So that little thing pops up. And as we left the chiropractor, which is only like 20 Ks from our house, it said we had like 40 Ks of fuel. We're like, sweet, we'll make it. This is great. And within about 3 minutes, that dropped to 2 Ks worth of fuel. We were like, oh, shit. So we had to like do all this mad scramble to try and find a fuel station nearby. And look, there were lots and lots and lots of fuel stations around, but petrol is fucking expensive at the moment.
Oh,
and
so expensive.
There's this thing you can use called Fuel Watch, and it shows you where all the petrol stations are and how much each petrol station's charging for fuel. And so we always use Fuel Watch to try and find the cheapest petrol that we can. But this was very urgent. There was no finding cheap petrol. It was just, where is the nearest petrol station? So, but then there was traffic and blah and blah and blah and, you know, here I am.
Yay, well, we're so glad to have you here. I just find that so baffling. So my chiropractor, I see one as well. My appointment slot is 15 minutes long and sometimes I'm in and out within 6 minutes. So I'm that speedy. It's just like, done. And I'm like, I walk out and I'm kind of like, trying to get my legs back in place.
Man, my appointments are always really complex. My chiro is like, the puzzle of Deanna is back, right? Literally. I've been seeing him since my daughter was born. So I've been seeing him for like 14 years.
Wow.
We're good mates, right? But he's like, it's different every time. Things just move around. Have to find where the problem is and before I can deal with it. Yeah, it never takes 6 minutes. It often takes 20.
That's so crazy. My one is like the opposite. I've got like, stock standard lower back pain. We're fixing that. But my torso is really short. I have literally like the length of my fingers between the top of my hips and the bottom of my ribs.
Whoa.
And he's really confused. He's like, where are your organs? Where are they? They're on the table.
How does your thoracic spine fit in that space?
It doesn't. That's the problem. So, but on the little table that he uses to do like the cracking and the things, he's like, you are literally the only person I have that I have to like drag halfway down the table.
Oh, that's so
when
funny.
my head's in the circle thing, my everything's in the wrong place because I'm too short. But I'm like all legs.
All legs.
Yeah, I'm all legs and no torso. I'm really short when I sit down next to people and then I stand up and I'm like, hi, I'm up here now.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a really odd body set up.
I met someone the other day that was like that actually. I saw her from a distance. She just looked like a normal, regular kind of middle-ish sort of height person. And then we were sitting down in a car next to each other for ages and our heads were the same height. And then we got out of the car and we were on opposite sides of the car and I looked across the top of the car and my eyeballs just went up. I'm like, whoa, you are so much taller than I thought you were.
It's a legsy person.
Legsy.
Legsy. There's a few of us floating around. We're legsy people. My pants never reach my ankles. It sucks.
I don't know what you were going to say then, but I'm glad that's what it was. I don't know what. my
I thought that was
pants.
such a normal statement. Oh, no,
Hey, reel it in, guys. Reel it in. That's enough. of
Okay,
that
yes, sir.
nonsense.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, Jordan. Sorry, Jordan. Well, then I will use that as a segue to begin what we are discussing today. So today, lovely Good Talkers crew, we are talking the Good Talk on the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which is set to release in 2023. Now, there has been some, I'm going to say complaints as a word. I think that's a good word choice. There have been some complaints about people saying that maybe Chris Pratt, who's going to be playing Mario, that he might not have been the best choice. And it's always difficult when people are rebooting these incredible things, like, because it was Nintendo, wasn't it, that Super Mario Brothers was on? Was it Nintendo?
Yeah,
and and people, Deanna's like,
One of those console things
the thing with the buttons that, yes, good.
that I
good.
don't know how to press and what order they go in. No.
I have a feeling, Deanna, if you were to play one of those car games and you've got the remote, you're the person that turns with their body.
Yeah,
Is that-
100%. Absolutely, that's me. My whole body goes all over the place. I get really tired in my arms because I'm trying to make the thing actually steer things, and I have a tendency to button mash.
Yeah, cool. Well, I think that's solid. So, because I do it too.
Solid approach.
Solid approach.
Just mash all the buttons.
So obviously, there are people who are massive fans of these games that we grew up with, all of those sorts of things. And when they get turned into movies or TV series, there is a lot of eyes watching to make sure that what's happening is something that they enjoy. And people are not happy is the underlying current of what's being talked about at the moment. And after reading a lot of posts and articles on the situation, there are some major issues that people are querying. So I thought today we could go through them and chat about what they are and how we feel about them as voiceover artists. But before we start, I do want to just mention that this is not an attack on Chris Pratt in the slightest. I have
Tessa.
Tessa, me, I have a crush on Chris Pratt, so I don't want to attack him. I think he's beautiful.
Same here. I have had a crush on Chris Pratt since he was on Parks and Rec. And he was Andy.
I love him.
I mean, until like this day, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Look at
He's a
you
beautiful, wonderful human being.
Gushing, honestly. It's his thighs. They thick, and I like it. It's
Deanna, what are your thoughts, mate? I can't relate. I don't know about you, Deanna, but definitely don't have a crush on Chris Pratt.
Me either. No offense,
All right,
Chris,
cool.
because I'm sure you're
goes to?
listening.
well, look.
Yeah,
just
definitely listening.
I'm sure you're lovely. You're just not floating my boat, and don't take it personally.
It's okay. He can float mine. I don't mind. It's fine.
There's many boats being floated. It doesn't matter that mine's not
Look, 50% of us are real happy with him, so it's okay. So this is not an attack on Chris Pratt and his acting skills, because he is a phenomenal actor.
Or
he
his
does,
thighs, obviously.
or his thighs. Oh, have you seen those things? Oh my god!
I haven't looked. I've got to say, haven't looked.
Ashley's put her hand up. She's got a statement.
Just on the subject, if we're on the subject of Chris Pratt's thighs, I have a small story. So I have my boyfriend's sister and her fiance. They live in Culver City, which is and they like to go on this hike that is very popular in Los Angeles. It's the Hollywood sign hike. Where you can come see the big Hollywood sign. One day they were doing that hike. And Chris Pratt is very, he goes there often to work out and to hike. And they were watching him work out in person on this thing. And she was with her fiance.
Like,
yeah, she was with her fiance and she was like,
work out.
If you're going to exercise in public, expect people to watch you, okay? No.
But it's Chris Pratt. And that, okay, it's like an unspoken thing. Like, not people were really, like, coming up to him. Like, he's working out. He's working hard. He wasn't really, like, stopping and talking to people. But, to see Chris Pratt's thighs in action, she will cherish that memory for all of her days.
Oh, I would too.
Tessa's gone all blushy and sweaty.
I feel overwhelmed by that comment that someone like 2 degrees from me has had that experience. It's very exciting. All right, so this is not an attack on Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt,
Clearly.
we love you and your thighs. So let's talk about the issues around this. Let's jump into this. So one of the first questions I came across initially when I first started looking into this was, why was Chris Pratt hired in the first place? And this was a post from Near the Voice, who I really enjoy. If you're not following Near the Voice, he's fantastic and really he says some really, really great things about the industry. And he noted that productions like these, it's never about the talent or who's most suited to the job. It's about the money. And I can see, Deanna, you've got your hand up. Do we have a thought?
Yeah, I disagree with that statement. It's not never about the talent or who is most suited to the job, and it's not always about the money. It's always about all of those things. Right? It's not always about the money to the detriment of the other things. Like, they're not going to hire, well, every now and again you find out that casting is a bit weird, but honestly, for the most part, the people that get cast in roles get cast because they serve a purpose. Like, there's a reason someone's hired Chris Pratt. And it might be because the name will get lots of bums on seats. In fact, it will be because the name gets lots of bums on seats. It's a really, really important part of casting, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you want eyeballs on your stuff, put like people in it that people like to watch, right? And clearly people like to watch Chris Pratt.
We don't even get to watch him. He's Mario.
No, but I was making a joke about watching him work out then. That was a throwback.
Remember that time that we talked about puns and Tessa doesn't get them? Literally, I don't hear them.
Too literal. Too literal.
And that just went straight over my head. I think
I was referencing people perving on him while he was doing his workout, right?
Yes, I completely missed that.
Point being though, like people like watching Chris Pratt, and his name also attracts those people, right?
Yeah.
So yes, it is about getting those bums on seats. There's no point making movies at this scale if people aren't going to watch them, because that's the whole point. Right?
It's a business. Yeah.
So it's a business, exactly, right? So but whoever cast the voice will also have like wanted him because of the way he sounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not going to go, oh, so-and-so will get lots of bums on seats and we'll do a bad job, so we'll just use them for the bums on seats, right?
Yeah.
It has to be both. It has to be both.
I think I think you're totally correct. I think the reason people are a little upset, however, is because if you watch the trailer, and at the time that we're recording this, it is the only trailer available to watch for this movie, which you can tell that Illumination Entertainment and Nintendo have poured a lot of time, money, effort into, of course. That the trailer features a lot of different characters from the Mario universe that people really love, like Bowser, who's played by Jack Black. There's Toad, who's played by Keegan-Michael Key. Luigi, who's played by Charlie Day. And Chris Pratt, who plays Mario. So they showed a lot of other characters. And when this cast was announced, people were like, whoa, these people are going to be really weird for these characters. We can't hear it. And then the trailer came out, and the trailer was awesome. I mean, Jack Black is Bowser. If you watch the trailer, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to see it.
Yeah.
It's going to be so cool. Keegan-Michael Key sounds just like Toad. Like Toad from the games. He sounds just like him, but more animated. It's like an elevated version of Toad. And then you hear Chris Pratt's Mario, and it's just Chris Pratt's voice, which is not necessarily a problem. But when you combine it with all the rest of the characters, all the rest of the voice actors who are putting on voices that are very indicative of the characters we already know and love, it kind of seems very out of place. And this may not be Chris Pratt's fault. I mean, this may be the direction he was given.
Well, it has to be.
I mean, we don't know.
It has to be.
Yeah.
Like, it has to be that people signed off on this.
Right.
Directors.
Yeah.
Like, everyone went, yeah, great, that's what we want. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also if you really listen to the trailer, you can kind of hear the very slightest Brooklyn accent that Mario's doing. So maybe that's where he's going. But there's so little in the trailer to listen to of Chris Pratt's voice. I mean, it is honestly like a line and a half, maybe. That I think is kind of unfair for people to judge prematurely. That's all we have is a line and a half, and you're judging that maybe this actor can't do this entire job. At the same time, Charles Martinet has been the voice of Mario for 20 plus years now. Like, it's the voice of Mario we all know and love, that it's a me, Mario. Like, that's him. And were really wondering, why was he not offered the role? Or was he offered the role and turned it down? Like, why is this actor not in this job? As people were wondering as well.
Yeah. I've got another question coming up on him later, but I think something that you brought up, Ashton, was really interesting because I hadn't really thought about it that way because I'm not a big Nintendo person. I didn't play those games.
I'm a huge Nintendo person.
Yeah,
so,
awesome.
Yeah.
So this is something I hadn't considered. It was the combination of all of those epic characters next to each other and then hearing Chris. So then I guess my question on that is that why didn't they display him better in the trailer? Because there's an article that says, Chris is really excited about it. He's been working on the accent. He's been working on, making sure that this character is right for the fan base. Why didn't we hear a snippet of it that made us believe that he did do the right job?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a very good question. Because it's it kind of makes me sad for Chris Pratt and everyone who worked on the production that people are judging it so prematurely based on not enough knowledge. It's not even like the movie's out yet. Like, can we really even judge a performance we haven't seen? No, we can't. At the same time, as a Nintendo fan, I am worried. I am a little worried that it's just going to be Chris Pratt's voice up against all of these, epic character voices that sound very similar or are very, like, franchise appropriate. And that's going to pull me out of the story when I watch it. That's what I'm kind of worried about.
Yeah, I hear that. And it's just, it's so interesting to think because people are so passionate. We are so passionate about those things that we have. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when the full movie comes out and we do start getting more. Playing devil's advocate, though, let me try that again. Playing devil's advocate, is it an incredible publicity stunt?
Maybe.
Ooh.
I
mean, it's definitely generating publicity.
Yeah, it's all over the place. Look,
heaps of conversation, heaps of questions, heaps of debate.
Memes.
There's going to be
so many memes.
so many memes.
Yeah,
there's going to be a whole bunch of people who aren't from that generation of gameplay, right?
Yeah,
that haven't played those games, that are going to go and watch this movie. And yes, you want to keep your fan base, your original fan base, your like dedicated, loyal fan base happy, but also you want to appeal to the new kind of audience as well. You want
to be getting everybody from everywhere, don't you?
Yeah, and all of this conversation is going to draw in lots and lots and lots of people. It might shut down some of the really loyal fan base, but, the people who are really into it will go and watch it anyway, right?
Oh,
those
100%.
bums will be on those seats.
Yeah.
And then all of this conversation kind of broadens the potential audience, right? Because there's going to be a bunch of people that are like, oh, I don't even know Nintendo, but this is intriguing. I'm going to go check it out.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a bunch of people that are interested in a new version of something. But I just think all of it works.
Yeah.
Well, and there's going to be people who want to go see Chris Pratt because it's Chris Pratt. There's going to be those people too. And it's not like he's a new voice actor. Like, he's done lots of animation before. He's done the Lego game and he did Onward. Like, he's done really great roles in great movies before. So, that's another reason people are going to go watch.
But this is why I'm of the opinion that he's in the role because people wanted him in the role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he's not a newbie. They didn't just go, oh, Chris Pratt, we'll chuck him in because it'll work for us. He's got experience in the space. He's proven. He knows how to do the job. So if however the job is done, it's been done that way through a very long series of decisions and choices around all sorts of different things. It's not a one decision and, oh, here's the outcome. So many decisions and choices got made along this path, and all of them led to him being in that role and it being delivered the way that it's been delivered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do wonder, if he has done a great job, because, I've only heard a tiny, tiny snippet, and he has done an incredible approximation of, Mario and Chris Pratt all together, then when it comes out, it will pull in those people from the original fan base who were mad about it anyway, because other people are going to go, hang on a minute, team, it was incredible, and it's going to bring them back through anyway. So that it's just interesting to think about all of this big picture stuff and see how everybody's moving through. Because something you brought up initially, Deanna, which I thought was interesting, was because Chris Pratt's going to pull an audience. A comment that I saw by someone in the fan base was like, Super Mario would have pulled a big audience anyway. So, why not take a chance on somebody else?
Because it won't be as big.
No, it won't be as big.
It won't be as big. Yeah,
That's
it won't
the
be
simple
as
answer, isn't it?
And it's about making the audience as big as
Yeah.
possible. And that's what Nether Voice is talking about when he says it's always about money. And it is always about money, right? Like, that's the thing. It's a business. Bums on seats. I know I've said that a squillion times already, but it's just the truth of the matter, right? You make movies, you put them in theatres, and you hope people go and watch them. That's the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I wonder if, because Charles Martinet, everybody was so, I think, not disappointed for him, but I think they would have really enjoyed to have seen him in that role. I wonder if it would have been the original voice, or if maybe he would have changed it in some way, because would you want the original, the core amazing original going through these new series?
I'm not sure. That's another thing, is that, while I think Charles Martinet has made this voice of Mario iconic, obviously we all know it, we all have heard it, and he's made it an iconic voice. If you do play the Mario games, which that's where he's mostly featured, it's not like there are giant cutscenes where Mario has monologues or he's explaining things. He's saying, let's go, or, Princess the Beach. He's just saying these little lines that don't really have a lot of dialogue.
Substance.
Yeah, substance, a lot of dialogue beating. And while the voice is fantastic, and I think Charles Martinet has done a fantastic job with it, I mean, that was what they asked him to do, and he did it. I don't know if it's fair to ask him to do something like a full animation movie for this character that he's used to doing one way. Like, is it fair for him to be able to ask him to transition to doing
or to expect
all of this?
That it would be a thing that he'd want to,
Right.
that he'd be interested in doing it.
And maybe
it
he's
might
just
be
not.
It might be a massive departure from how he normally engages. I don't know much about him at all. Like, what's his general kind of stuff? What does he do other than Mario?
Animation.
Honestly, does he do animation?
Yeah, he does do
Okay.
animation. So he is a voice actor, and he does do animation. And he does do things like that. I should have looked at the list a little bit because it's all gone out of my
I'm
brain
going to
right
look
now.
at it now. I've got
Deanna's
access
gonna
to
look at it
Google.
now. Yeah,
What
you
should
do. Yeah, you do. I'm pretty sure I did read that he does do lots of other
that
things
guy.
as well. Yeah,
I know
that
his
guy.
face. I just looked at a picture of him. I'm like, oh, it's him.
Yeah, but he's the way he's done Mario is traditionally the same way he's done Mario, and Mario doesn't have a lot of dialogue, and Mario doesn't have. Not only that, they didn't use any other previous voice actors as well. They recast the whole
thing.
cast. They recast everybody. So if they did use Charles Martinet in the animation film, it's kind of like, well, what about everybody else? Like, where do all the other voice actors go? Does that make sense, or does it make sense to bring in more Hollywood actors, to do this new type of thing? It's not like it's the game. It's a brand new story. They're like starting Mario over, basically.
Yeah.
It's almost like not in a different universe, but it's like it's going to be its own thing.
Yeah.
So,
They're trying to departure maybe from what that is, but with the other characters sounding so much like the originals, it really puts that dissonance in your brain where you're like, what happened there? And it would be so interesting because, again, we've only seen a small snippet, so we don't know what's actually going to come out. But it would be interesting to see what the decisions around that were. Who signed it all off?
So what else I think is interesting is that this isn't like the first time nostalgic characters that people cared about have been recast by actors using their regular voice. Like, if anybody has seen the new Chip and Dale movie, that was voiced by John Mulaney and Annie Samberg. So those are the original voices. But if you see that movie, it's a fantastic movie. And their voices lend really well. Their regular, normal speaking voices lend really well in the movie. So maybe that's what they were going for. You don't have to put in a mimic of the character voice to be the character necessarily all the time, especially in animation. You don't have to do that.
No.
But it's just interesting that Chris Pratt is getting so much flack for it when, you know, do we have a reason to? But he's probably just doing what the director wants him to do. He's doing his job. He's doing his actor job.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And they would have gone through so much workshopping. It's not like they can't have just thrown him in there without going, hey, look, this is what we're aiming for. This is what we want to do. Hey, Chris Pratt, do a thing for us. And he'd go, oh, okay. You know, that can't be how it works, because I've been thinking about it and I haven't thought about it too hard because I don't really know just yet. But if I was to get a really classic character and it was my job to revoice them, I don't even know where I would start. Like to be able to have parts of them and have new parts of a character, because, you know, like they did, we'll talk about it in a minute, the Lightyear movie, so the new Buzz Lightyear one, where they've got they've departed from who Buzz was as a character in Toy Story and made a new character. So how do you find the balance in that vocally? Because, you know, these characters have got their phrases and their sayings and their tones and their rhythms and all of this stuff. How, like, if what's a character I really liked? Who do I like? Has anyone got a character that hasn't been redone yet that they like? I'm drawing a blank.
Totally drawing a blank.
Totally
besides like classic, you can like a classic character like Mickey Mouse. If Mickey Mouse was like not going to be a Mickey Mouse mimic voice, which they haven't done yet. Everyone who's been doing Mickey Mouse since Mickey Mouse has been that same Mickey Mouse type voice.
Yeah, exactly. Because even the South Park version of the Mickey Mouse voice it's hilarious. It's so funny. I like it a lot. But even then, it's you know, it's still 80% Mickey. It's just Mickey aggressive, you know. So
it is really funny. If you haven't seen it, it's really
Mickey
good.
as a tyrant, you know.
Really?
Yeah, it's really
funny.
It's so funny. But you know, but 80% of the voice is still there. It's still a mimic. It's still, you know. So it's interesting to think how you would. Because I do a bit of mimicking and I can't even begin to think how you would depart from the original character. It feels like such a process.
I don't know how I would do it either, if I'm being completely honest. Because at the same time, I feel like there's so much pressure. People really love these characters. They're so beloved. There's so much pressure to not screw it up. And I think that I think it's also like a double-edged sword, where there's going to be a lot of people who just kind of want to see, like, are those people who want to see Chris Pratt like screw it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those people who are like the naysayers, who are like, because he's really beloved. Like, he's a beloved actor. He's done so many things that so many people love. He's really great. And I think there's going to be those people out there who really like to see the people at the top fall, that kind of thing.
Because if you look at his career, what he like, even if you just look at Guardians of the Galaxy, being a part of the Marvel universe is a huge thing, and people like to see people in those positions being torn down. And I think we do globally. We're living in a culture of cancelling, and we're living in a culture of they have, I don't kind of, and it's so you can see where all of this hate might have come from really, really easily. But I do sincerely hope that, you know, if Chris Pratt says that he's been working on the accent, and if people. Like, there's no way that they would put people in those rooms of creativity and, you know, when they're building this movie and go, it doesn't really mean that much to us. We'll just do this.
Exactly.
They can't have done that.
That's exactly the point that, like, because I don't know lots and lots about, I don't know anything about the ins and outs of this, you know, but I just think there's more thought that's gone into it than just, you know, oh, we'll just put Chris Pratt in because he'll make money.
Yeah,
right.
They can't have been that careless.
And maybe I am being a little bit naive about that, but my feeling about it is there's got to be more creative input and creative decision making and owning of a creative process than that.
Yeah,
surely they, and also, you know, in terms of honouring the origins of this and the historical value of it and that kind of thing, surely you would take care.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if at some point Chris Pratt and Charles Martinet have met up to discuss this. Like, you would do that. You would do your homework, right? You would go to the origins of the voices. You would do all of that stuff. Like, I really
can't imagine
hope...
him. Yeah, I can't imagine that he wouldn't. You know what I mean? I can't imagine that that's not the case. And the thing is that we could speculate until, all eternity, until the movie comes out.
No one knows.
We don't know. We don't. And the thing is that the movie is not even out yet. They could still be recording. They could still be changing things right now as we're recording this. Yeah. So it's not even finalized yet. Like, we have literal no idea, which is maybe why
there wasn't very much in there.
Exactly. He's still maybe working on it. And that's just, they're trying to get people hyped up to come in and see the movie. And I mean, regardless of anything, I think a lot of people's curiosity is so piqued that at this point, people are going to see it anyway. Yep. I know I'm going to see it, like, probably opening weekend, because I've just been a huge Mario fan my whole life. I love everything Nintendo. I am that geeky gamer girl. I love that. Have been my whole life. And so I was thrilled when I heard they were doing a Mario movie. So I will 1000% be there.
Okay, well, now that we've sort of talked about that and we've made the decision to be like, look, we need to see it before we have our final judgments, because we've only seen a tiny trailer, just like Ashton said, and we can't, have a full opinion about something we don't have full access to. So now, dun 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 dun, we are doing Sounds I Can't Make.
Yay!
So exciting. Now, I found this person on TikTok, as I typically do. Now, this person makes a really good voice that I think is really enjoyable. So we're just going to play it and listen to it. And I haven't trimmed the whole video down, so Jordan's going to tell me that I need to do it better, but I haven't done it, so that's cool. All right, here we go.
This is how I do the Stacy smoking voice.
Hi, my name is Stacy, and I've been smoking for 40 years.
And sometimes I'll hold my hand to my throat because it gives it a better effect for some reason if I put pressure, like, here.
Hi, my name is Stacy, and I've been smoking for 40 years.
That is Stacy the smoker voice.
Yeah, okay. Right.
Yeah. So, what do we think? Does anybody reckon they can go straight to it? Any feelings on it?
I think so.
You reckon? Yeah.
Hi, my name's Stacy, and I've been smoking for 30 years.
That was really good.
That was
really good.
That was really good. Ashton, you want to give it a whirl?
Sure, I could try.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Stacy. I've been smoking for 40 years.
That came along as it went. That
It
was
came
good. That
along.
got better and better.
Initially it was quite tight and we're like, what are we going to get? But then, it sort of
I
softened.
had to get into the character. I had to figure out who she was. Yeah.
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 I wonder why she's pushing on her larynx. Like, I don't fully understand that bit yet. But
I want to try it without the push as well. Like that
Yeah.
time I did the push, but after you, obviously, and Jordan, because Jordan's got to have a go too.
Jordan has been too. It's my favourite bit, honestly. Okay. See, I can't even find it.
Really?
Hi, my name's Stacy. See, that hurts me. I don't like that.
Oh, wow.
It's almost sounding like your Marge a little bit.
That's what
like
I was
when you
thinking.
did your Marge, yeah.
No, I want to go to pharyngeal distortion and I want to go there because that doesn't hurt my chords. But if I go, no, it's not happening. Hi. No, I can't find it.
Play it again.
Wow.
Play it again. Yeah, I can't
Hearing
find
it
that
again might
position.
help.
Hi, my name is Stacy, and I've been smoking for 40 years.
And sometimes I'll hold my hand to my throat because it gives it a better effect for some reason if I put pressure, like, here.
Hi, my name is Stacy, and I've been smoking for 40 years. Hi. That's what it is.
How are you doing that?
I'm
name
pulling
is
my
Stacey.
larynx down.
Oh, you're going really low?
I'm like pulling the root of my tongue down.
Hi, my name's Stacy, and I've been smoking for 30 years.
Does that hurt you at all?
Nah, not at all.
Not a bit?
No pain, no discomfort. It actually feels like I'm massaging my freaking larynx.
It kind of feels
Yeah.
like low glottal fry, hey?
Yeah.
And see, I find that really hard.
Ah!
Okay.
Low
Questions?
glottal fry.
Fry. Yes. So glottal fry is your chords coming together at their lowest frequency that they possibly can. And so glottal fry just sounds like this. It's that creaky kind of sound. Lots of people call it vocal fry.
Yeah.
And it's actually a really good it's a really good warm-up. It gets a bit of a bad rap because people can sometimes use it incorrectly. Like they talk on it all the time, which means they have no vocal variation. They're not able to get volume and then they lead to trouble. But like people use glottal fry or vocal fry as a warm-up. But I personally really, really struggle with it. And I think
I drop into fry piece of cake.
Yeah,
All
I have to work really hard.
Oh, I'm just going to pull my mic closer to me for a second, right? All I have to do is just drop my projection all the way back, right? And stay on voice. So I'm not going breathy. I'm not going into whisper. I'm still on voice, right? But I can just let it drop into that fry space. And it's really easy when I don't have much breath support in place.
I think
Did you hear those little growly bits in there, Jordan?
It was lovely.
It was gorgeous.
It was, just a lovely, like, warm,
yes.
like as a snuggle, like I want to snuggle up in that voice.
Oh my God,
you know
that's
what I'm saying?
hilarious. I was talking about this with my students at WAPA last night in voice class, and we were talking about how much warmth that generates. And I said to them, it's like a hug. And they all went, yeah. Like the whole class. There's like 18 of them, and they all went, oh, yeah, it's like getting a hug. And you just said it was like a snuggle. So that's exactly what it's like. It feels like some warm, textured blanket kind of wrapping itself around you. It's weird.
That's so cute. Glottal fry.
Yeah.
It's a cuddle. It's not a sentence often here together.
Does that answer your question, Jordan?
Yeah, it sounds like a horrible thing, but you know, like the name of it sounds like
Glottal
God,
fry.
That doesn't
Like
sound
someone's
good.
burning something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think it also
fry
gets like
definitely sounds better.
It gets a bad rap because a lot of people use it incorrectly, like Tessa was saying, or they'll use it to sound
Particular way.
unintelligent.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if you're doing like a type of, well, where I live in Los Angeles, there's a lot of people
I was
who
wondering how you were
use-
going to describe this.
there's a lot of people who use vocal fry. It's a very California girl, LA girl type of sounding.
but
voice.
it's done like this.
Yeah, if
right?
you've ever
oh my God.
talked, like if you've ever listened to like the Kardashians,
They do
that's
that all the
how
time.
they talk, and it can get like really annoying to listen
This
to.
is not like
I
a
kept doing
hug.
this like
This-
over. Yeah,
This is
It's
not
like-
a blanket, not a
it's
snuggle.
the opposite of what Deanna was doing before. You don't want to cuddle up in this voice.
No.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
I've worked really, really hard to like have my voice in a certain way all the time, which I'm having to undo a lot
Yes.
of now. And I think because my brain thinks that glottal fry is bad and doesn't sound good, I find it really hard to get down to that positioning. And also, historically, I've had a really, really tight larynx to the point where I've not been able to talk properly. I don't know if I shared that story with all of
No.
you. I'm gonna have to share it on a different one. I'll put it. I'll put it somewhere. It's a really interesting
haven't
story.
we got like another vocal health episode coming up?
Yes.
That'd be the perfect
yes,
time
we
to talk
do.
about that.
We do, but I find it really hard to get into lower laryngeal positions, which is why I play with them so much on my TikTok channel, because I find them really tricky. So, Stacey. So that was relaxed, but I can't. I've got like minimal control over that. I find it really hard to sustain, not in a painful way, just in a. I can't find it. Yeah.
So is that something that's like for example, I can't do like the tongue roll because it's just not how my mouth is formed. Like I just can't do it genetically. But like, so is that something that's like a genetic thing, or is it like something you could work through in like with training your voice? Just curious.
So I don't know, because if it's a physiological thing for Tessa, like maybe it's a muscular thing or something like that. I have no idea. But from my own experience, there used to be lots of fry and all sorts of stuff in my voice all the time. My voice naturally has cracks in it because it's quite deep and it's naturally quite husky, right? Always has been my entire life. So it cracks really easily if I'm not modulating, right? And that was fine early in my career. And then the trend was to have very clean sounding voice for a long time. And I basically trained myself out of cracks and glottal fry when I was doing voiceover. And I got myself into a position where I was just modulated and clean all the time like this. There was no, like, still personality, still me, but you can hear how sanitized it is. Like, I've taken out all of the, like, the quirks that are naturally in my voice, right?
Yeah.
And when I let go of that modulation, you can hear the fry come in, right? And you can hear little cracks happen when I go up higher and stuff, you know. And about 2 years ago, when more natural conversational reads started becoming very, very popular, maybe even a bit before that, maybe 3 years ago, I noticed that I wasn't getting anywhere near as much work. And I spoke to my agent. She's like, oh, you have to sound less like a voiceover artist. I had to undo all of that modulation. And it was all sorts of things. It was muscular control. It was breath control. But it also, I had to teach myself to let go. And there was a lot about that, like, structure that felt very safe for me because I'd been operating in it for a really long time and it had worked for me for a really long time. And it probably took me 6 months to let go of all of that stuff and start to get comfortable again in a more natural kind of voice where all of those little unmodulated bits and pieces would come in. So it's definitely doable. You can change it.
Yeah. And that touches on so many things that I'm going to say as well. I'll do it really speedy. And then we should have a full episode on this because this is interesting. But my voice for me as a protective mechanism has been very prim, very proper, very structured because that's how I felt I had to present in the world as a teenager. So it's taken a lot for me to have ugliness, and I'm putting that in quotation marks, ugliness in my voice. I'm worried about how everything sounds, everything looks, and that's manifested in the way that I speak. It's also because I grew up in an area where, you know, Southern New Zealand, be polite, smile, all those things. I pull back really heavily in my jaw, so I've got a lot of jaw tension because I over-smile. And I pull up through the base of my neck all the time.
Yeah, wow.
And so I reckon what's happened is that I just have overactive suprahyoids. So suprahyoids, because I know Jordan's
about to blow his whistle. Just blow it, Jordan. It'll be fun.
Blow it.
Blow it, blow it.
There we go. So
go.
supra, meaning above, hyoid, as in the hyoid bone that lives inside your voice box. It sits just above. It's a floating bone. It's sort of like, and that's sort of, no one can see me. It's just below your jawline, essentially. Yeah. And those are the muscles that help pull your voice box up when you swallow, things like that.
So yours are overactive.
Mine are overactive.
Because they're getting pulled on by the top of your jaw.
Yeah, because I do this all the time.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the process that I'm working on is how to dirty, again, quotation marks, dirty my voice up so that it doesn't always sound this way, because that's what I've trained myself to do as a protective mechanism operating throughout the world.
Now, I know we can't spend too much time on this, but it would be really, really worthwhile considering reframing the language you use around this. Because you're using dirty up, make it ugly, right?
I know, I heard myself.
Use things like texture, colour, shape, variation. Use those words and literally replace them in your vernacular. It will start to shift your mental processes around it. While you still use words like dirty and ugly, you're not going to want to do it. And you'll be telling yourself to do it, and all of your internal structures will be going, nah, it's bad, it's dirty, it's ugly. So you've got to reframe the language.
Yes, I totally hear that.
But that's what people like booth directors, that's what they tell. I mean, I get the same thing, Tessa. Like, I get the same thing as dirty it up a little bit, or, you know, make it messy. I hear all the time. Mess it up a little bit. I hear those because that's what you get told. So, like, that's
But there's nothing wrong with those words in general.
Yeah.
Words are neutral, right? What matters is what Tessa makes those words mean.
Right?
Yes, which is so important to think about. And I'm doing so much on that. And like I said, I'm experimenting through my TikTok channel, making sounds I struggle to make because I know I struggle to make them.
Speaking of struggling to make sounds, we haven't heard Jordan do the sound.
Oh my goodness, that was so lucky because I almost moved us on from it.
I know, you were about to move us on. And the Jordan's
out
like,
of it.
fuck.
No, I'm intrigued. What did you guys do with the fingers on the throat situation?
I'm not sure what that's about just yet. I think that's just space compression.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I reckon she's doing it to lower her larynx and keep it down there. Because if I speak normally and then I press on my larynx, I sound like this before I even add in the smoker sound, right?
Oh, that's interesting.
Sound, and then I press in, and it goes into that like really full on space.
See, for me, it doesn't do shit. Because my larynx is already so high.
It's very uncomfortable for me to press on it like that, though. I'd much rather do it without the extra physical thing.
Oh, that's interesting. Right, Jordan.
So that's my Adam's apple.
Yes, your Adam's apple.
okay.
It's different for you, yeah.
This is going to be weird.
Try it without
hurts.
the press
This
first.
is awful,
Try it without the press first.
Geez, that's hard.
Keep going. Keep trying.
Hi, my name is Stacy, and I've been smoking for 30 years.
That was so good.
It hurt at the end.
Else.
Wow. Makes me
that
wanna
hurt,
cough.
did it?
Yeah.
Accent. Yeah, it was
See,
good.
That's so good. And the reason that'll be hurting, it's the same reason it hurts me. I've got too much constriction happening rather than freedom to create the sound.
Yeah.
And that'll be, so Jordan, you and I are squeezing like this, rather than getting it down nice and low. So
Getting
that's,
it down really
yeah,
low.
yeah, which is
Just
interesting.
like pulling it down there.
Yeah, weird. It feels like weird in my throat now.
It's strange,
Feels like
isn't
something's gone in a direction it's very not used to going.
Do some straw phonation. Blow in a straw.
Yeah, into the water, right?
Yes, into the water.
He's learning.
He's learning. Oh.
Boom, town.
Well, that took a turn. Our sounds we can't make. We had a little go at it, and then we therapized Tessa on her word choices. Which, I'm okay with it. I don't have to pay anyone to give me
You're like,
therapy.
by the way, guys, I need some therapy now.
It's fantastic. It's so good. So we had Karen the Smoker's voice. We talked about some interesting stuff on how the voice is actually, and if people think that the voice is just a muscle, they are wrong. It has so much going on with it. It has a lot of emotional stuff running through it. It's the way that you communicate how you think and feel. So there's more than just a set of muscles that live in there. So it's always good to talk about that sort of stuff. And we touched on the really important topic of the big Hollywood world having input in things that we love. And and that's an important thing for us to discuss.
I totally thought you were going to say the big, huge topic of Chris Pratt's thighs.
I should have said that, Chris. I'm so sorry, Chris, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I'll go back to talking about you. But we've talked about what, because some of these aren't comments just coming from the Nintendo fans. They're not just coming from the fan base. They're coming from voice actors as well. So it's it's just interesting to hear what the pain points are, and maybe have we jumped the gun? Have we not jumped the gun? Lots of things to think about. And I'm sure when the actual film comes out in February 2023. We can
we'll do a follow-up episode.
And we can, delve into what he did, what he didn't do, and see maybe how he would have done things different or done nothing different because he did a fucking great job. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us today on the Good Talkers podcast. It has been a joy to have you with us. And make sure you follow us on our socials. We're on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. We have an email account. If you want to send us stories from the booth, things that have happened to you, or if you want to give us a sound that we can't make that you want to try and make us make, send it in. There's a form on the website. Fill it out. We would love to hear from you. Voice notes, videos, anything. We want to hear from you.
If you've got anything that you want us to talk about, that's really, really useful too.
Yeah.
Like if something happens in, your voiceover world and you're like, oh, this is a really good topic for discussion, send it in. If something like the Chris Pratt in a movie thing shows up for you, send it in. We're really happy to just kind of give our sometimes uninformed opinions about everything.
Because we just like to put our 2 cents in regardless. So thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.
My voice hurts. Bye.